Jalandhar, Pagoda Road, place called Rangla, Punjab. Very important that we understand the culture of Punjab in order to understand the metaphors and the analogies presented in Gurbani, and a lot of the history that we read in the lives of our 10 Guru Swarups. So you can see here how they are preparing a garment here by hand. We hear so many times about how certain Sikhs prepared garments by hand for Guru Sahib throughout history. So we just go have a quick tour around. We hear here Nalka, the stand, the analogy of how water is connected from way below earth level and how it's brought out in Gurbani. They give example of Naam and how the Amrit is within us, but just like you have to put water from the top in order to connect the water channel, they give a analogy. This is how we have to, our registration process into the Khalsa is just like the water we put on top, and the Amrit within us is just like the water beneath the land, basically. So many things you have to understand about Punjab and its culture for us to understand our history, and obviously the analogies. Here we have the old stoves they used to use to cook. We hear about patte, pattiyan a lot. That's what they used to look like. That's how they used to cook them. A small deegcha is on top. There you can see, or a certain type of dish they used to cook in. Here we have Panguda. We hear Sakhi from Guru Amrda's time, where Mataji would kind of look after their baby when they used to come for Seva at Goindwal Sahib. But they were from Lahore, I believe, Panguda. And this woman is presenting, trying to create makhan here. We know in Gurbani there's many examples of makhan. Guru Sahib has given us many analogies of how makhan is prepared. Sahaj bilova ho jaise tat na jai. The whole shabad there is about the analogy of how makhan is prepared. Going forward here, Kumihar, again many analogies in Gurbani about Kumihar and how they should create pots. Gurbani says that the creator is like the ultimate Kumihar, the one who creates the dishes, and all our bodies are like these dishes that are being prepared, different sizes, different colours. But the main element of it is earth, is mud. In essence, Guru Sahib is saying that we are all created from the same flesh, we have the same elements within us, with just different shapes and colours. So just like these pots, all different ranges. So Gurbani teaches us that humanity is all one at the end of the day. And God's light exists within everybody, regardless of who we are, what we look like. And these old roofs as well, thatched roofs, we hear about a lot of that in history as well. How fires and sometimes people could break in through creating holes in them. Charkha here, how they would create thread, and then further ahead there, how they would prepare clothes. You know, Kabirji with Julaha, they did garment work all their life and created garments. And again in Gurbani there's many analogies about creating garments and Julaha. Manje, in history we hear about Manje as well. These are the old type ones. We can find in our history as well. Certain times of Manje are still existent, the Guru Sahib came and rested on. Up here, this is the kind of utensil that was used to store cold water, hanging under a tree on the branch. And we hear the episode in history by Roop Chandji and his father by Sadhuji, had cold water stored under a tree in the shade, hanging off a branch. Guru Hargobind Ji come all the way from Ndroli Pai to consume that water. This sort of a dish. Here we have a chakki. We know Guru Nanak Dev Ji's time and how Babur imprisoned and enslaved many people when they invaded Punjab at that time. And we know the chakkiyan piece can see using. He made all the people he had imprisoned. He made them all grind flour. And this is again in Mir Manu's jail. Those brave Sikh women were made to grind flour with one of these chakkiyan. That there is like an old door. I think that's a real one. The rest of them are artificial. That one looks like a real one to me. That pink one. That's what the doors used to look like, and the lock is old one as well. Inexistent architectures, you know, like old historical buildings that still existent. Like we went to Kotla Nihang last week, for example. You can see those kind of doors still. That's why they used to lock them from the outside. That was the locking system. So you would open them. There's no latch as such from the outside. It would just be locked in through that chain. That gentleman's opened it. Old bricks that we'd find in old buildings. Guru Amardas Ji's time, we hear about these kade. After a certain person would kind of break the clay pots, they started using these ones. We know Mata Gujari Ji, the mother of Guru Gobind Singh Ji, bought these for the local women after they complained Guru Gobind Singh Ji were breaking their clay pots. Mata Gujari then bought them these type of ones. So if we know what they are, we can understand the history better. Got so many old things. There's actually a hall as well on one of the walls that Guru Nanak Dev Ji used to use. That old type one. I forgot to show. I'll quickly go back and show that as well, because we all know Guru Nanak Dev Ji when they went to Kartarpur Sahib in the last phase of their life. They basically used to comb the soil in order for the soil to be prepared for the seeds. So that there is a hull, the old type one. That's the type of one Guru Nanak Dev Ji probably used. That sort of one. We have like an old type of villa here. This is the kind of villa that the rich caste would probably live in. When we hear the likes of Sardar Todal Mal in history. These old hunks of doors, beautiful doors. So here it says Subedar Gurjan Singh. So we hear about the rich in our history, the ones that have done some great service, like Todal Malji. They would have probably lived in those kind of places. When people were married off, they were taken this sort of a dolly people would carry. We hear Sakya Guru Hargobind Ji when Baba Buddha Ji is coming to see them, and they have people carrying this sort of a palki that Baba Buddha Ji is sitting in, and Guru Hargobind Ji basically moves one of the people out of the way at the back and puts his shoulder underneath to show respect to Baba Buddha Ji, and the Baba Buddha Ji jump out when they realise the Guru Sahib's got his shoulder, he's carrying my seating. So again, that's Saki to understand that. You've got to see here. Just what flashed in my mind basically I'm sharing. Probably a lot that I've missed out. You can see from far as well, like those bande, those dishes. That's what they would have probably used for food consumption. When we talk about Baba Jorwar Singh, Baba Fateh Singh Ji, Mata Gujar Kaur Ji being served milk by Mutira Mehra, it's probably in dishes like that. Here we have the stove here. Obviously that's a small tavi. Guru Arjan Dev Ji, they were tortured on a bigger one, I want to say iron plate. That's what we're talking about. So Guru Arjan Dev is made to sit on one of these in its burning hot form. Again, so that's what it was. Now that we understand what it is, we can picture it and we can understand it better. Again, these kind of manje were found in Gangu Brahman's house, where the Sahibzade stayed for one night. There's so many things in our history. Here's something interesting. Ava. People say, what's Ava? When Solihi Khan came to attack Guru Arjan Dev Ji, and we say Prithi Chand's Ave, like his stoves. Those are like chimneys basically. Were used to bake bricks. There's also Sakhi about, I believe it's Guru Arjan Dev Ji's time, where a Sikh wants to bake his bricks. And there's a great Sikh in Lahore, I believe. But it was one of these that Sulika ended up falling in. I'm assuming the chimneys were a lot less smaller, but he fell in through them and burned to death, basically. But that's what Ave looked like, stoves. We talk about Patta Sahib, Guru Gobind Singh Ji went to Kotla Nihang, and when the horse cooled down one of the patte with his feet, with his hoofs, something like that. So lots of things for us to learn from. But if we don't understand the Punjabi culture, we're not going to understand the analogies in Gurbani. We're not going to understand. We're not going to be able to picture, completely comprehend our history. Here we go, Sunyara. We know in Japji Sahib Jat Pahara Tir Sunyar Ahran Mat Ved Hathiyar. That is an analogy of a goldsmith. So these tools that he's got here is what Guru Sahib basically used those terms metaphorically. So Pahara means workshop. So that will probably be his workshop. That's called a Pahara. And all the other tools. So it's the old Sanduk that's even still existent in our history. People would store the things in something like that. So much to learn from. Here we have a kuh, a well, which is mentioned countless times in Gurbani, in history. And here we have a tin to look, these silver ones here. These are more like the copper tin ones, I think. But when we hear about Guru Gobind Singh Ji going to the jungle of Machiwada, and tin da sarana kita, meaning when they lay on the floor, is one of these they removed. So one of these tinda is tinned here. They removed one of those. I'm not exactly sure whether it'll be made of tin, but are made of some sort of material. They removed that and they wrapped their scarf around it, Azuria, and they use that as a pillow. So again, that's a tin. They're used for irrigation of the fields, to water the fields. Gade, there we have gade. Countless times gade are used. That's what a gade is, a pitcher. Countless times they're used in Gurbani analogies. So yeah, so much to learn. You have your tarkhan. Here looks like tarkhan. Basically means a woodworker, somebody who works with wood. When we talk about Guru Nanak Dev Ji on the travels, the first place they stopped was the house of Bhai Lalo Ji. He was tarkhan, he was a woodworker, he worked with wood, he was a wood specialist. So that was his gift. It was a job title, it was a speciality. That's what he did for a living, and Guru Sahib went to his house first because he earned his money, worked hard for his money and ate from what he earned. which what Guru Nanak Dev Ji teaches, call khai ke chatto ho de Nanak Rao Pashana se work hard for your money and share what you earn. You've understood the path to God. You have obviously a Nagara here. It's a smaller one, like Peri, like we have in Tanasri Gagan Mehta, Rav Chandi Pulpane. That's Nagara, but a small version of that is called a Peri, which is mentioned in that Shabad. Havalat, so they're like a prison there. When we talk about Baba Fateh Singh, Jodhar Singh, Mata Gujar Kaur Ji in Morinda, they were kept in Havalat, they were kept in a prison, which is still existing in Morinda. We'll do a video on that as well. But it was something like this again, Havalat. They were kept one night. You can see in here there's a prisoner. Prisoners are in there. All sorts of things to learn. Thank you all for listening. Hope you enjoyed the live stream. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh.